Welcome to the She Believed She Could podcast. I'm your host, Allison Walsh. This show is dedicated to helping you show up, shine bright, and achieve abundant success. Each episode is packed with advice and actionable resources to elevate your mindset, confidence, business, and brand, all while focusing on your happiness, well-being, and success. I am so excited that you're here. I can't wait to get started, so let's get to work. Today's guest is an absolute powerhouse, someone who blends the worlds of neuroscience and the arts in a way that is making a lasting impact. Alexandra de Roos is a trailblazer, advocate, and artist dedicated to creating meaningful change. A Florida native and student at the University of South Florida's Honors College, Alex has excelled academically, maintaining a GPA over 3.9 while pursuing her dream of becoming a neuropsychiatrist. As the president of the Blue Project, Inc., Alex is on a mission to integrate neuroscience and the arts, advocating for concussion awareness and traumatic brain injury research. Her dedication has taken her all the way to Washington, D.C., where she successfully lobbied for the reauthorization and $19 million in funding for the Traumatic Brain Injury Act. She also serves on the University of Florida's Brain Injury Advisory Board, shaping Florida's state plan for brain injury awareness. A passionate advocate for the Concussion Legacy Foundation and the Brain Injury Association of America, Alex is using her voice to educate, empower, and drive real change. And if that wasn't impressive enough, she's also a ballet artist and a choreographer, a former resident trainee at the School of the American Ballet, and a top 10 finalist in Miss Florida 2023 and 2024. From performing in New York City to donating over $50,000 in dancewear to dancers worldwide, Alex proves that passion and purpose go hand in hand. Today, we'll dive into her incredible journey, the resilience behind her story, and the impact that she's making in the world. Alex, welcome to the podcast. Well, welcome back, Alex, to the She Believed She Could podcast. I'm so thrilled to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
It's going to be a great conversation, but I would love for the audience to just get caught up and hear from you more about you. And so would you mind just sharing a little bit more about yourself?
Yes. So like Allison said, my name is Alexandra de Roos. I am a student at the University of South Florida, double majoring in biomedical sciences and psychology, and will hopefully, after I graduate, be attending medical school to become a neuropsychiatrist. That's a little bit about
just a little bit. Just want to be a neuropsychiatrist.
Yes.
We're going to get into just a really beautiful conversation today, but I'm really excited about our audience hearing just the story of you because I've been a fangirl for years. I've had the privilege and honor of, being able to watch your journey and see you evolve, but I would love to rewind the tape and go back to the Alex I knew 5 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
Who is so precious and wonderful and lovely and was changing the world at a very young age back then. And so we're going to spend a lot of time about what you're doing with the Blue Project now and everything in the future on this episode. But I want to talk about everything that you did as a teenager with Peace Love leotards. So Can you just share with the audience what you were doing prior to what you're doing now?
So I have been a dancer since the age of 2.5. Dance was my entire life. I wanted to be a professional ballet dancer, and I wanted to get as many people involved with the art form of dance as possible. I just loved everything about it. And so when I was 8 years old, I formed this small initiative called Peace Love Leotards, where I would collect new and gently used dancewear and then distribute it back out to people in need. So that way the cost of dancewear was not something that prohibited them from joining the art form. When I was 16, I developed that into a formal 501c3 nonprofit organization and essentially went global. I was featured in over 21 magazines and on media opportunities, media shows. I donated $50,000 in dancewear around the globe, spanning as far as Malaysia. I developed a global ambassador program where we had ambassadors from all over the United States and also from
several countries.
Yes,
yeah, it was impressive.
It was several different countries. Australia was one of them, so very
so cool.
exciting. Yes, just basically felt like I was taking the world by storm at a very young age, and so I loved having the opportunity to bring the art form of dance to people.
Yeah, you were taking the world by storm, and what I love too is that you were taking all of these young girls that looked up to you along with you, right? Like my daughters were volunteering and donating, and like it was so cool though, Alex. And I think from like the sidelines, right, to watch a teenager just lean into something that she cares so deeply about and make such a significant
Mhm.
impact was incredible. And it just was proof that you are never too young to
Right.
make a difference, and that when you are young, you can make a difference, because I think there's a lot of hesitation,
Yes.
right? It can be scary. Like, I'm sure that you
Yes.
were facing some of those fears.
Oh, I was terrified. I felt like was raised with the idea that there's no age limit on success. So you could be 12 years old or you could be 75 and you can do something you're passionate about. And of course, I had parents that raised me and they were like, well, you can do anything you want to do. You can make a difference. You can pursue all of these wild dreams. And so I think that just instilled in me the mindset early on of put your goals out there, make them known, and try to achieve them. But I will say I was terrified, especially when I decided to turn Peace Love Leotards into an official nonprofit organization. I thought when I was reaching out and collaborating with these major dancewear brands that I had spent my entire life wearing, that reaching out to them, they were going to be like, no, we don't want to work with you. Like, you're 16. This is crazy. And instead, I felt like I used it to my advantage because I was like, listen, I am 16, but I want to make a difference. And I want you guys to be a part of helping me make that difference. And they actually responded in the opposite way that I initially thought. They were like, well, we love to see a young person getting involved and trying to further and expand the dance community. So what can we do? And when I was just met with that response, I felt like it pushed me to keep going further and further.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. And I remember, when you would get shipments of, literally the best dance clothes out there. And now, as a dance mom myself, I have an even greater appreciation for the value that these companies were sending you. That was super cool. I remember also, I was looking back on just, memories as I was preparing for today. And I remember us talking about like you pitching yourself to the media, right? And I remember you being like, I have to do what? And we were talking about send a press release, like write the press release, send the press release. And do you remember the response? That one release got picked up, that one singular one. I think that one was 13 different outlets.
It was a lot.
It was crazy.
And I grew up reading the magazines like Dance Spirit magazine and Point magazine. And so then I was reached out to from Point magazine and they were like, we'd love to do an article on you and Peace Love Leotards. And I remember the headline was like, SAB student founds dancewear nonprofit. And I was just blown away because I was like, no way, this is real life. I've been reading these magazines since I was a little girl and just always looked to them for what was going on in the dance world. And the fact that I was featured in an article talking about my nonprofit was just mind-blowing to me at that age.
It was so cool. And I do want to highlight for the audience that so much of this work that you were doing was during COVID.
It was.
Like, you were making the most out of a situation and continuing to do good in this world despite even more obstacles and hurdles. And so for those that are listening, I just want to recognize, number one, you're never too young or too old to chase a dream. You might have more obstacles than what you anticipate, and you can still push through and make a significant difference. And you can build a community and take them with you along the way. So like all of those things that you were doing as a teenager, fast forward to today, you had gone to New York, you moved there when you were 14, right? Pursuing this professional dance career, which, you are a beautiful dancer. And again, doing what you loved, but then you had that pivotal moment that everything really changed. So can we just like dig in there a little bit deeper and share more about what really happened?
So, like I said, I mentioned that I was an SAB student, which is the School of American Ballet. That is the feeder school for the New York City Ballet at Lincoln Center. And when I was 14, I moved there to train as a resident trainee. So I moved there all by myself, lived in a dorm with 64 other ballet students pursuing that same goal. And my last year at the school, I was rushing between classes and I hit my head on a door. I just completely timed it wrong and ended up sustaining an incredibly severe concussion that completely changed the trajectory of my life. I was told that it was not something to worry about because I didn't pass out. I didn't throw up. So they were like, okay, just minor bump to the head, you're fine. Continued to dance on it and realized that it was a lot more serious than we originally thought it was. I ended up developing something called post-concussive syndrome, which is when the concussion symptoms go beyond the typical like 1 to 2 month range. And I ended up undergoing a 1.5 years of post-concussive physical therapy with 4 different kinds of doctors, all different kinds of treatment. So it really just changed my life because I was told that I was never going to be able to pursue dance as a profession,
Mhm.
which is something I had been working towards since a very, very young age.
Mhm.
When you put your whole life on hold to pursue a dream, like, or not on hold, but like my life back home, I moved away from my family. I was like, okay, I'm willing to sacrifice time with my family, time like as a normal like teenager, so that way I can pursue this dream. And to be told that all of the sacrifices that I made were essentially not going to be worth it because I was never going to be able to accomplish that dream due to a freak accident, I was beside myself. I didn't know what to
Mhm.
do. So,
And those are devastating moments. And it wasn't just a moment, right? Like you had to figure out who you were
mhm,
as Alex,
right.
right? And
Mhm.
that is a very difficult place to be in,
Yes.
especially at a young age, right? Like when
Mhm.
so much of your identity is connected to that passion that you have, that investment that you've made, the sacrifices. And I mean, I remember this season of your life too, and it was so difficult and heart-wrenching to watch.
Mhm.
But you were so strong, and I know that there were probably moments where you're like, "What in the world am I gonna do?" Like,
Yes.
and I mean, I'm sure there are people listening right now that are thinking, like, "Yeah, I've faced hardship too, and I don't know what to do." So,
Mhm.
what type of inspiration or hope would you share with them?
So, a lot of people don't know this about brain injuries, but about 77% of people that experience a traumatic brain injury end up developing some sort of mental health disorder. So, whether that's depressive disorder or an anxiety disorder, I ended up struggling with both of those, and it was a very difficult season in my life. Like you said, I defined and identified myself by being a dancer, and so when dance was taken out of the equation, I really had to reflect and be like, okay, what do I do now? Not only that, but I had had the experience with Peace Love Leotards. I had had the experience dancing at a high level and doing academics at a high level. I was a student at Columbia University at the time. And so I didn't know what to do when my brain basically felt like it didn't work.
Mhm.
I had to just kind of pick up. And I think the biggest piece of advice that I learned in terms of overcoming an obstacle was finding a new goal. I found something to work to. For a while, that was simply just being able to heal and hold a conversation with people
Mhm.
because I would lose my train of thought while I was speaking. All of the papers that I would try to type for school would come out wishy-washy
Mhm.
because the words were getting mixed up. So a lot of times those little goals were just healing or making success in the PT space or just making sure that I was keeping up with my health. And then once I got past that, I set new goals like being able to go back to school and work towards the goal of now becoming a doctor. Things fell into place in time, but I think developing and pursuing small little manageable goals was like the biggest thing that I learned, at least in terms of what to do when your world falls apart.
Right. And I mean, it really did feel like it was falling apart in so many
Yes.
ways. But you found those small wins, right?
Mhm.
And you started to build momentum and rebuild your confidence again.
Yes.
And to, what you just spoke to, I mean, with the big dream of now being a doctor and being
Yes.
able to help people, like that's a new dream for
Mhm.
you. And you've had some other new dreams too, which
Yes.
has been really cool to be witnessing as well. And, when you, kind of came back home, restarted your life, there was also an opportunity for you to turn that test into your testimony or mess into your message, however you like to refer to
Right.
it. But that's really what you decided to do. And,
Mhm.
I think, again, another opportunity for a new chapter, which for so many people can be scary, right?
So
And to say,
scary.
like, let me start something new, right?
Mhm.
Like, of course, I've done all these wonderful things with Peace Love Leotards and I've had this dance career, but my life has changed and shifted. And I have a story now
Right.
that can really impact other people.
Mhm.
Share with us what it took for you to really make that switch and know that that's what you were being called to do.
Well, so like I said about finding little manageable goals, one of my goals was to be able to go back to school.
Mhm.
And I had always had an interest in medicine, psychology, sports psychology. So I knew like I was going to be majoring in psychology at the time. But I actually was a part of a honors class called Acquisition of Knowledge, and they took us to the Jolly Museum in St. Pete, and I got to just experience all of the beautiful artwork that was there. And I was staring at the wall, and I saw this painting called The Broken Bridge and the Dream. And it's basically this bridge of little ghost-like ballerina figures dancing on top of it. And I had this visceral reaction to this art piece, and it kind of sparked a question in my brain that was like, okay, can dance help heal or not dance, but the arts help heal traumatic brain injuries and neurological disorders. And a part of that class was writing a essentially kind of literature review thesis paper. And so I just dove headfirst into that. And what I found when looking at all of these research papers was that music can help alleviate stress in concussed athletes. Dance has been shown to increase neuroplasticity in the brain. Construction of artwork helps heal and reformulate one's identity after brain injuries and neurological disorders. And I turned that passion that I was finding into my nonprofit, which is the Blue Project, integrating neuroscience and the arts. So again, it's kind of a similar story with Peace Love Leotards, as in I just developed these little small goals, went after them, found a passion, and then turned that into a purpose. So that was, I think, the biggest thing is I just found what I loved and just went head full force into it.
Are you ready to step into the spotlight and claim the incredible opportunities that come with a powerful personal brand? You deserve a future full of possibilities, and defining your personal brand is the key to unlocking them. Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, launching a business, or just starting out building your confidence, a strong personal brand is essential. That's why I'm so thrilled to introduce you to Build Your Brand on Demand, a program designed for you to access anytime, anywhere, and work through at your own pace. With Build Your Brand on Demand, you get all of the benefits of my proven brand building framework available whenever you are. No more waiting for a specific start date. Now you can dive in and start building a brand that you're proud of today. This program will guide you step by step as you create a personal brand that not only reflects who you truly are, but also attracts the opportunities and recognition that you deserve. This on-demand program is perfect for anyone looking to define their narrative, position themselves as a thought leader, or simply stand out and shine brightly. By investing in your personal brand, you're investing in your reputation, your visibility, and your future. So if you're ready to take that step, I invite you to join Build Your Brand on Demand. Click the link below to get started immediately, and let's unlock your potential together. Your brand, your time, your future. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, and you did, and you've made so much progress too. And again, like for those that are listening, what we were talking about with Peace Love Leotards was not that long ago, right? This brain injury happened, 2021? Right?
Yes.
So we're in 2025 as of right now. You came home, you had your healing season, and then you jumped into it. And it was like a year and a half ago when you really dove headfirst into everything with the Blue Project. And again, because you are proactive, because you are ambitious, because you are driven, and because you care, you are willing to go the extra mile, and you found opportunities. Let's talk about then what you started to do next. I mean, you and your mom hopped on a plane to DC.
We did.
And again, the power of getting in the room and building your network and being of service. Talk to us about what happened then.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing was I was realizing how much brain injuries were not talked about. Over 64 million people experience a traumatic brain injury at some point in their lifetime. So they're really a lot more common than we think. But most people, especially one of the most common forms of brain injuries is a concussion, just brush them off like they're no big deal. And so I was like, how do we raise awareness about this? How do I do my part to ensure that this is something that we're being talked about, especially with students heavily being involved in contact sports? And so I realized that it was coming up on March, and March is Brain Injury Awareness Month. And the Brain Injury Association of America was having Brain Injury Awareness Day on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And I knew that I wanted to be there because I had a story to share. And I knew that if I could share my story with congressmen and women, that they would be more inclined to potentially put funding and research and use their voice to advocate for the brain injury community. So I jumped on a plane to DC and just talked to everyone I could just about my experience, what they were involved in. I met the people involved with Brain Injury Florida, which is an incredible organization. And before I could even blink my eyes, I found myself a part of the national organization, the state organization, being a part of the Brain Injury Advisory Board responsible for developing the state action plan, which was a huge deal because now I'm directly involved in implementing change into the state of Florida to ensure that brain injury survivors get the adequate care that they need. And it's such a fulfilling role because I know that I'm making a difference and will make a difference in the lives of the people who experience injuries similar to mine.
I mean, just so significant. You're just like rattling all these things off, and it's like they are all really big things. And again, you showed up, you shared your story, you brought your heart for service and making a difference. And this unbelievable opportunity to contribute in such a meaningful way was returned to you. And I know, and you know this too, this is just the beginning for you, Alex. And it's so exciting to see the difference that you're making. And again, like, you're on people's radar, right? People are reaching out to you. The fact that the University of Florida, this whole thing with everything that's happening in the state was because you showed up, and it was because you do what you say you're going to do, and you follow through to a degree that is above and beyond. And that has been you your entire life, right? So like that.
Well, I hate the
so
word
important.
no, because when people are like, no, you can't do that, I'm like, oh no. But I will say, I feel like so much of that just came from not being afraid to talk to people, share the story, and then make those connections, because I was able to join that board because someone recommended me because they loved my story and knew that I could advocate for the community. And that was just a testament to not being afraid to go after what you want and really make networking connections with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And the ripple effect is huge. And now you're a part of really creating change and a legacy for yourself too, right? And I think that's really powerful. And, you know, I love the fact now too that you're being requested to speak and get on stages and like all these cool things.
Little me would freak out because I was terrified of public speaking when I was younger. Hated it. I feel like every person who's ever been involved in dance specifically, we're taught as dancers to be seen and not heard. So the idea of speaking in front of people was awful to me at a young age. But now I'm like, there's so much power in being able to use my voice for change. And I love getting to share my story. I love getting to stand on stage and hopefully inspire people to overcome the challenges in their life, to talk about their brain injury if they've had one. So I couldn't be more happy with the path that my life has now taken, but it definitely took a little bit of a weird route there for a second.
It did, but I think the overarching message, and for those that are listening today too, is like, you can start over, right? You might not understand what you're going through in the moment, but there is a greater purpose afterwards, right? And that, you know, the investment that you make in yourself to better yourself and to be able to show up, like that has a residual impact, right? And like, you're doing all this work now, eventually you're going to be a doctor doing meaningful work in that arena. You know, like there's so much that's coming from it, but it's because you said yes, right? When you could have easily said no.
Right.
And you took the call and you answered the request and you're doing the things and you're getting on stages and you're sharing your message in such a beautiful way that's inspiring other people to do those things too. And the overarching premises that I hope everybody's hearing today is the resilience that Alex has. And she could have walked away. You could have been like, I'm done. Like, I'm going to go hide in a hole. Like, everything I thought that my life could be is over. That could have been what you did.
It could have very well been.
Yeah.
Like that,
and so I think, like, what would you share with somebody that maybe is facing hardship right now, where they don't see that light? Like, what could they be doing or should they be doing for themselves to help them get out of whatever that situation might be?
I think the biggest thing, I always talk about reframing your mindset, because when I first experienced my brain injury, I kind of was like, okay, well, I'm not going to get to be a professional dancer. I'm not going to get to live in New York City. Everything that I worked for is just kind of down the drain. So, I mean, this is terrible. And when I started looking at things differently, when I started pursuing those little goals, when I started healing, things kind of fell into place a little bit more. And then I started thinking about things more positively. I was like, well, you know, I may not be able to accomplish like my dream of being a dancer, but that's a very like self-fulfilling dream. Whereas being a doctor and helping people and advocating for people who've experienced brain injuries, that's something that will not only fulfill me, but will also help so many other people. And that is a greater purpose. And so sometimes you just have to take a step back and look at things from a different perspective. I'd say that's one thing that really helped me. And then the other thing is, once I did have goals, I like to always say, and I feel like I learned this from you, was just bettering yourself 1% every single day. Because I feel like we see people in life, and I see people that I'm incredibly inspired by, you being one of them. And I'm like, okay, well, they accomplished all of this stuff. And it's really just looking at it and saying, no, I want to do one thing that makes me better every single day. So whether that's me studying for my organic chemistry class or getting on a meeting with an organization like Brain Injury Florida and sitting down and discussing what we can do, just doing something that makes you better 1% every day is something that I like to live by.
Absolutely. The other thing that you also found was community through all of this too,
Yes.
right? Like you getting on a plane and going to DC and connecting with these
Mhm.
organizations, right? Like you are around other people that have
Mhm.
also had lived experiences similar to you,
Yes.
or their connections or family members have loved ones. I think that's also a really important element. And so you were able to, of course, you had your dance community, you have that community, you've got everybody involved in the Miss America opportunity. Like
Yes.
you found your community. So I want people to
Yes.
also hear that too, is that sometimes you have to actively seek out others who have had similar experiences
Mhm.
in order to find your new place.
Right. And I can't count the number of times that now I'm Miss Tampa 2025, and I couldn't be more thrilled about that because I love the city of Tampa. But when I won, I distinctly remember I was standing on stage and, they're taking all of these photos and I was so thrilled. But these two people came up to me and they were like, we just want to tell you, like, we're dancers. Like, I was in a very bad car accident. I suffered a horrible concussion. I can't really dance anymore. So the fact that not only are there so many stories out there where people have experienced concussions, but there are people within my dance community that have experienced similar situations, and just hearing everybody's personal story when I tell them my own has been something that I'm so grateful for, because it makes me feel like I'm not alone, and it helps me to know other people to know that they're not alone as well.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, well, it's really hard when you stay in isolation.
Right.
Whenever there's anything that's difficult, is like you have to find support, you have to
Mhm.
find community, you have to find resources. And I mean, you are such a beautiful testament to all of that. And I could
Thank
not
you.
be more proud of you. So it has been so fun to be on the sidelines, like cheering you on and just being,
Thank
just
you.
so proud. And I know that everybody that's witnessed what you've done is feels the same way. And I'm
Thank
just so
you.
excited for you. And as I mentioned before, like this is just the beginning. I believe that wholeheartedly. And I just have loved seeing your evolution, and even through the really hard, sucky times where it was just
Yeah.
terrible. Like,
Oh my gosh.
but you persevered and you pulled through and you were strong. And I know I can do this is a mantra of yours,
Yes.
and is
Yes, it
very,
is.
very true. You can do this.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, it's been really amazing. So as we wrap up today, we've got 2 questions that
Okay.
we love to ask everybody that comes on the show. First one being, what does confidence mean to you?
I think confidence just means knowing who you are. I think that was the biggest thing, one of the biggest things. It taught me so many life lessons, but my brain injury really taught me who I am. You often hear like people define themselves by the activities they're involved in, but the brain injury allowed me to take a step back and kind of define myself as like a person first. And so confidence means being secure in who you are and knowing who you are and being able to identify that and walk into a room and just kind of feel comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah, beautiful. Love it. And then who else are you inspired by? Do you have any book recommendations, podcasts, influencers, anybody else that you think this audience would just love?
Well, I feel like I'm just inspired by so many people. Obviously, I'm majorly inspired by you. I have several friends. I feel like I would be so remiss like not to give them a shout out. One of my best friends right now is Miss Florida, and she's incredible, and I'm so inspired by her. So I'd love for your audience to get to hear from her as well. And I actually just got a notification that one of my best friends got into med school today.
That's
so
awesome.
I have so many people. I feel like you see people in the media and out there doing things, and yes, that's so important, but there are so many people that you just kind of can interact with on your day-to-day life that impact you maybe in more ways than a celebrity or an influencer would, and I'm so grateful for those people in my life.
Mega shout out to Cassandra Fink. She is one of our favorite people.
Yes,
we love her dearly. So we are hoping to have her on the show very soon. But Alex, thank you so much. I'd love for our audience to find you, follow you, support you, book you to speak.
Oh, yes.
Where should they go to find more information about you?
So you can always find me on Instagram, Alexandra de Roos and the Blue Dot Project. And then my website is www.alexandraderoos.org.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show
Thank
today.
you.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. I hope you found inspiration, insight, and maybe even that little push that you needed to keep moving towards your goals. Remember, you are capable, you are worthy, and you are meant for more. Whatever dreams are on your heart, keep showing up, keep believing, and keep taking action, because the world needs what only you can bring. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you'd take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend who needs to hear this message today. And if you want to keep the conversation going, please connect with me over on Instagram at Allison Walsh. I'd love to hear your biggest takeaway. We've also got some awesome freebies that we've linked in the show notes, so make sure that you take advantage of them. Until next time, keep believing in yourself, keep shining bright, and never forget, I believe in you 1000%, and my goal is that you do too. Take care, beautiful. We'll see you next time.